Good evening, welcome guys. My name is Avi Luscious. I'm the Director of Neighborhood Business Services at the Brooklyn Chamber in partnership with the Small Business Services of the City of New York. To give you guys an understanding about MWB, MWB was a program that was started back in 1991 under Mayor Deakins. The point of the program was that women and minority in New York City were complaining that they were not getting their fair share of city contracts. Just to give you an idea, the city buys everything you can imagine, from toilet paper to tables to materials, anything you can imagine the city buys. The city's last year budget for purchasing items was $10 billion. Under the Mayor de Blasio, they set a limit, actually a goal of having a 10% of that, which is roughly about $1 billion should be set aside for MWB enterprises, which is minority women-owned businesses. So the way to really get involved in that is you have to get certified. You have two certifications to stay in the state. It really doesn't make a difference who you're certified with, but for the purposes of this class, I'll talk a little bit about the city. To take advantage of any city contract that's out there, say for example the city, actually 2 days ago we actually got a bid about the city is looking for NYCHA. Anybody know what NYCHA is? It's a city housing projects. NYCHA was looking to purchase curtain rods, and they were also looking for shower curtains, and they were looking for rugs, and they were looking for handles for doors. These are the small types of things that they were looking for, and they're looking for people who qualify to purchase the bid, but in addition to an MWB certification. MWB certification just basically tells the city and the state that A, you're a minority women-owned business. To prove that, you have to show that you are the owner of the business or that you own 51% majority stake of the business. That's the two qualifications. Now, the city's certification, they want you to at least be in business at least for 1 year, minimum. So if you're in business, just brand new in business, that's fine. You wait that 1 year period. It usually takes about 3 months anyways for the whole process to start.
So you do not apply until
you could apply, you won't be pushed in to be certified until you hit that 1 year mark.
So but what's smart? Because then if you're just...
No, it's good to always have it because I'll give an example, the application is a very lengthy application. So it's going to take you probably at least a few weeks. Not weeks, but months, depending how you do it.
Can we pay someone to fill it out for us?
We do it for free.
You do it for free?
We have someone in our office whose first specialty is MWB certification. You call us up, we give you the application, they walk you through. We actually
so complicated, I'm just curious.
For example, part of the application, I can't bring it up, but part of the application asks you for your NYCIS code. Most people don't even know what a NYCIS code is. Basically, every business is defined by a sector. You're in fashion, that's technically retail. But under retail, you would have another 50 different subcategories. So the NYCIS basically identifies what category you belong in. So when you're getting a bid from the City of New York saying, okay, we need X, Y, and Z, you're only going to get those type of bids because it's based on that sector. You're in technically wholesale, commercial vending. So say for example, the city's putting out a bid that all preschools or public schools need furniture. That would be the category that you would get bids for, so that the city doesn't overburden businesses and send them a typical list a day, which by the way, the average bid that goes out every day is about 100 types of bids. You can imagine, you're going to be spending hours and hours and hours going through each and every single bid. So that's the idea of why they have the NYCIS codes. In addition to this, it's also important to know that part of the application, they look at the certification, what type of structure you have, an LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp. You have tax returns just to make sure that you're the one who signs in the tax returns. They want to see that there's some cash flow. The reason is also because they don't want you to take on a bid from the city without being able to support it. There's a lot of times businesses say, oh, I'm MWB certified, that's it, I got my contract, let me go make money and sit back. That's not the way it works. The city gets MWB certified, the city puts you on the list with HRA, which is the city agency that does all the contracts for the city. And then you get on their list, you get bids basically on the business you're in. And every time a bid comes out, you have to click on it, you have to read the RFP, which is a request for proposals. You submit your application of why you think you're eligible. You put in your price points, what exactly you're going to bid for, and how much it's going to be, you're going to buy it for, you can sell it to the city for, and you submit it. You may not get it the first time, the second time, the third time, the 10th time. By the 12th or 15th time, you're going to get it right because you're going to learn the process, and you will get the city contract. Part of the process includes why they ask for your tax returns and some cash flow, because the city does not pay you on time. The city pays about 90 to 120 days after you sold them the goods. So you sold it on January 1st, you're not getting your first paycheck or your first payment until probably end of March. So that's a little bit of a challenge why they want to make sure that you're able to sustain yourself, because the last thing they need is businesses going out of business because they don't have the money to be able to sustain their continued cash flow.
Do you have to have it in stock? Like, do they give you a second to order? Like,
They give you time. They'll say, okay, when we sign a contract, we expect delivery by X amount of term. Then you can determine 2 weeks, 30 days,
okay,
whatever it is.
so
But
you
again,
don't have to carry it in your store.
no, you just have to be able to provide it. That's the main thing the city cares for, is to have to provide it. The additional thing is why it's important to have the NWB certification. It does also help you when it comes to dealing with taxes, with dealing with permits, licensing. If you want to go into a whole different sector or a whole different business that you're not really typically doing on a day-to-day, it allows you to do it with that flexibility to say, hey, I want to do that because I'm NWB certified and I want to be able to tap into other resources and services the city has, which I may not be eligible for because I'm not NWB certified. But because you're NWB certified, the city has a goal to try to make as many businesses that are NWB certified to get those contracts. So
the emails come to you?
Directly to you. You'll get on a list, and every single day HRA will email you either weekly, daily, depending how you structure the email of when it comes out. I'll give you a classic example.
Can I,
Yeah.
question? Once the city has purchased something from someone, don't they continue with that person? Or they're always, every single time, always looking for a new?
They're always looking for the
Always
best
looking
deal.
for the
They're
best
always looking to undercut and get
So
the
they send it out
pitches.
to 100 people, and 100 people,
No, so
90
the way it works is not 100 people will be able to apply. They're going to basically look at when you apply, if you're within that category of somebody, let's say for example, furniture for a public school. If you sell furniture for a public school, you're a health fitness store. So if you apply for somebody that's selling furniture to the city for the public school, you're going to get knocked out because it's just not, it's not your forte. For you, you're in, so okay, depending on your price point, now they start looking at you too
But I
high,
might be
too
able to
low.
meet with many other businesses that are doing the same thing, possibly. I'm just asking.
Yes, yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge, but the key to the success of NWB certified and getting the bids is how you write your proposal. How do you sell yourself to the city? Why should the city do business with you over say me?
Who can help us with that?
Huh?
And who can help us with that?
We help you with that. That's part of the thing. We have procurement services, which is an additional to help people understand how to sell the RFP, how to write it, how to submit it, and how to constantly follow up on it. It's a little bit of a game.
But they're never loyal to the, I mean, if I did a really good job for them in March and they want another order 10
And
months.
so it depends. So the city legally has to put any contract they're about to put out, they have to legally put a notice out there. That just, transparency, it's called sunshine laws, they have to put it out there. But what they may do sometimes, they'll say to you, hey, we have this one-off type of deal, are you
It's
interested,
yours.
can you do it?
Right.
That they do.
Right.
They do that a lot of times. Like for example, there's a company that does the subway cars.
Mhm.
It's actually a company that's not even in New York, it's in Japan.
Mhm.
They even do all the subway lines for the 2, the 5, all the new subway lines you can see, they get it.
Mhm.
You're thinking to yourself, how did they get every single subway line? Well, it's very simple. They did the 2, the city was very impressed with what they did. They put out the bid. So when they put out the bid, they resubmitted their new bid. The city was more keen to take them just because they have that experience. And the city does it a lot of times. So it really depends on how you interact with them. If you're good on your follow-up, you don't harass them for the payment, which, that's the thing, that the city will pay you. They will pay you. They will not give you an IOU and they're going to stick you with the money. They will pay you, just it's dragged out a little bit. So if you're the person that they like to see, okay, we do the deal, you pay your bill, you put the inventory on time when you say you will, those are the type of people that are going to bring back it time and time again.
So when you say the city, who are you referring to?
HRA. HRA is the agency that will primarily be dealing with you. They're the ones who submit the bids, they're the ones who accept the bids, they're the ones who review the contracts, they're the ones who are going to cut you a check.
And there's specific people there that we can
They depend on the department.
create a
So
relationship with.
there are people who do just general bids, there are people who do contracts, there are people who do legality, like, so before you sign a contract to make sure you understand every single question, every single comment there. They obviously recommend you talk to a lawyer before. They're going to make sure you have the right insurances. That's another thing. People think, okay, I got the bid. No, but they want to make sure you have insurance. You sign a waiver that you indemnify the city, which means if something happens, that let's say you're manufacturing goes wrong
What
and
happens?
there's a delay, that the city's not responsible. Meaning the city will pay you, but if something happens, let's say between the delivery and when the city gets it, that the city is not responsible for that. If something happens that destroys the cargo or destroys the shipment, you're still going to be on the hook to fill that order.
What if you can't fill it? Do you get blacklisted?
No, they'll give you, again, it's a city, so it's not dealing with a corporation, dealing with the city will give you an opportunity to, what they call a window of opportunity to make that contract right.
Okay.
If you can't,
They'll
you just
rebid
say
it.
you can't, they'll cancel the contract, you'll have to possibly repay,
Okay.
and then from there you just keep trying again. You're not gonna get blacklisted.
Do they have a record though? Will they not work with you again? Or
No.
they won't
No.
even remember?
Because again, it's all an automated system.
Okay,
So
so it's
it-
not like some guy sitting there going, don't work with me.
No, no.
So-
Yeah.
So what's the average length of a contract that they'll sign?
I've seen contracts, for example, the pre-K contract is right now a 3-year contract.
What do you mean by that? What's a 3-year contract?
If you get a pre-K from the city of New York, the contract to host a pre-K UPK program, it's a contract for 3 years. You're getting funding for 3 years. You have to renew the license
As a
every single
teacher.
year.
Right, but I'm saying but with businesses selling things, it's a one-time thing.
It could be until the bid runs out, which means that let's say if the city's doing like a housing project, they're not going to put all the shower poles and curtains out in one shot. It's going to be they're going to do it as they're doing their apartments. So they'll order from you 100 pieces, but that contract will say until filled, which means depending how they do the contract, there's different contracts. Some contracts say until filled, which means that they'll keep ordering until they say they don't need any more, which that could go on for years. And I've seen that. There have been contracts that have gone on for months until they fill up whatever they needed. Our contract says, okay, we need, let's say, garbage bags, 20 cases. It's a one-time shop. They buy it, you sell it to them, and that's it. You try again for something else. But depending on, again, if it's more services, like products and services, depending on the sector you go into, whether it's selling to public schools or to big city corporations, big city agencies, it's usually a long-term contract, at least a year, if not more. If you're doing more like the construction, which is like the MTA or some of the other ones, it usually tends to be per project, which means it could be for 3 months or 6 months window. So depending on that. And again, so the good thing about doing MWB, it entitles you to a lot of opportunities. It entitles you to tax breaks, it entitles you to get city contracts, it entitles you to be able to attach into additional city services. Like for example, right now the state just created a veteran set aside. But that means that the state has a budget about roughly, an average of contracts, roughly about $6 billion. It's a little less than the city, but it's statewide. Out of that $6 billion, 6% of all state contracts have to be set aside for veterans. What that means is, if you're a veteran, and most of us are not veterans, we can basically go into contract with a veteran who owns a business, we buy partnership in his business, he'll come in as a silent partner, and guess what? Because he's a veteran, we can now compete for a state contract. There are a lot of situations where companies will go into MWB businesses and say, hey, we want to compete for a city contract, but we can't because we're not minority women owned. Would you be willing to be that silent? We'll create a new LLC, a new corporation. Do you mind coming in contract with us? We'll give you X amount of shares. You're just the title, but we're doing the business on the back end. And you're going to get a cut and you just look the other way. So that's the incentive about MWB is because, again, there are a lot of these contracts out there. And to give an example, there's parks, there's now all the housing projects. There's a lot of these things the city's putting on housing projects. They're going to need different services.
Is there any way that we make matches between people looking and us? Or you
So
just
that's, the
approach?
chamber has lately been doing that.
You're saying between veterans or just
No, between
between
vendors.
women?
We've been looking
Between
at different
business
sectors. Yeah, we have businesses who are on our list, and we would send them based on their sector. Would say, hey, the city's looking for this. We actually we know someone who's already going to compete for that contract, but we know they're not, who may have the capacity to compete for that contract, but they don't have an MWB or they don't have a veteran. We would say, hey, maybe we should look at this person because they have that and they can help you with that bid. And to an extent, depending on how they structure the deal, which we don't control, it could work, or sometimes it hasn't worked. So depending on how on the deal, depending on the structure, depending on who's involved, that's what it all depends on. I'm trying to think about. So then also so we said MWB could take about 3 to 6 months. Part of the process, in additionally to do it, is something called fast track. That if, for example, you can prove that you need it right now for potentially you have a city bid or you have a city contract pending, and you need to get approved, there is a fast track process which could expedite a lot quicker. Doesn't really mean much. It means a few weeks. Doesn't really mean that it's going to take on from 6 weeks to 3 weeks or 2 weeks. But it's something that they have an option.
What's the likelihood of not getting approved?
We've had year to date. We've done 18 MWB certifications this year alone. We have 25 that have been submitted.
When you say year, you mean?
From 2015, from January 1st till today.
That's it?
Our center has done 25 applications, 18 have been approved.
That's good. Good for us.
Yeah.
The reason why the other ones have not been approved, 2 things. Paperwork, people don't respond, they fall off the face of the earth, they don't do the application properly. There's a checklist. I'm sorry it's not up there, but there's a checklist of items that we need to have. Like for example, if you're an LLC incorporated, you have to legally have it's called a buyout option. Most people who do LLCs don't even know that there's an option. You have to have a buyout option. Now, what happens if let's say you go away tomorrow? You know, you get sick, you get incapacitated, you can't run the company. Who takes over? Most people don't even realize that the city, if they sign a contract with you, they want to know who's taking over that contract. So if you don't have the buy option, you're not going to be approved. Another reason why somebody wasn't approved, they didn't have the right insurance. Another reason somebody wasn't approved was because their partnership agreement did not make any sense.
Do you guys know how to spot these things?
That's what we do.
So, but you did these.
Again, we can only do so much. We can tell the person, hey, this doesn't make sense, you need to fix this, but if they don't do that, we will not submit the application.
But to reinsure your company, and that's not a...
The only thing we can do with that, with reinsurance, is we tell them, hey, we have a list of brokers, talk to them. Take the time, pick it up, talk to all of them.
Right.
They may give you a better price, they may not give you a better
Every
price.
business needs to be insured?
Yes, because if you're giving anything to the city, and the city, you sell something to the city, and the city then puts it in a public school, puts it in public housing, or puts it anywhere that the public touches it, or their city employees touch it, and they get injured or they get hurt, who do you think is going to get sued? The city, not you, because you sold it to them. Basically, it's like if somebody walks into your store, buys something, walks out, and now they get injured from that product. Most likely, you're going to get sued, not the manufacturer. It's the same idea. The city is the buyer. They're buying directly from you. They're not going to come back to you. They're going to come back to the city. So the city wants to ensure that if something happens to the product that you sold them, they're not coming to you. They're going directly to the insurance company. So it's the same idea. So just think about it the way you sell to a customer. Just reverse and go back to the city.
Do you want to say a certain amount of revenue before they will give you a contract?
Well, the city's a little different. The city will let you technically compete for any amount, but we have some cases where people were rejected simply because they went after $1 million contract when they're making $20,000 in revenue a year. So something like that, the city's not going to let you sustain because it's too big of a contract. The state, however, has a unique program where they actually kind of mentor you. They'll say to you, hey, you don't jump on the horse too quickly. Take a $50,000 contract, see how that goes. Okay, now we think you're ready in 6 months to a year. Let's go for a $200,000 contract. And they kind of work with you as you go into the process. The city's a little different, so
Is it better to be?
Go ahead.
Better to be under the city, under the state. Like, how does it make a difference for us?
The good thing about
Like
this,
the
so the good thing is about the state, you're certified throughout the state. The downside with that is that sometimes SPS, which is the city, gets a little bit upset. But hey, you should be working with us, not with the state. It's a territorial thing, so they'll say to you, well, you need to do this, 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 and this in order to get certified on the city level. The upside about being with the city, the state doesn't really care. So if you're certified with the city, the state is happy. So
we
preferably, it's preferred to do with the city, only because again, we control a lot of the processes, and again, the city is a little more in depth. Their application is a little bigger, and they require a lot more paperwork versus the state. So it's important to kind of go to the city. Because if you do the state automatically will kind of like recognize that it's not really
So it's worth our while right now to do it again for this.
You get it through the state. So depending on your application, we could try to basically I could probably copy and paste a lot of information into this application. It may need some additional items, and we could just resubmit it again, which shouldn't be that much.
Right. The school that we did for wasn't in the city, so that's why.
Again,
right?
once you get checked, once you do it in the city and you get checked in the city, all you do is take out a copy and we submit it to the state. We have a contact of the state certification. We say, hey, business A, X, Y, and Z just got certified to us. Do you mind putting it on record as well in the state? 9 out of 10 times they do.
But the other way is a little harder.
It's a little harder, yeah. I'm just giving that, just understand, the state is not as bureaucratic as the city. The city, the SPS agency has over 300 something plus employees. And the levels that they have when it goes to certification, there are 4 levels, whereas in the state there's 1 level. So you can imagine, if one level doesn't like what the next level has given them, they push it back. Whereas in the state, they get it, so therefore you see the application is a lot less, and therefore the approval time is probably a lot quicker. So that's the reason why.
No yet.
How when you submit it?
A while ago.
6 weeks ago?
More.
Then that's weird. You should have gotten a response by now. State is usually about 4 to 5 weeks, 4 to 4.5, 5.5 weeks tops. The city is usually the most. The city is 8 weeks. So you should have received an answer by now.
I'm gonna check.
Okay. But if you guys want to, we can turn back to the other questions you guys had. You wanna? There's not much. I don't have the material there to go further.
I guess we can do it, but
Okay,
whatever
yeah,
he
fine.
wants to do.
So,
Yeah,
let's just
well-
say we take a bid and there is some trouble down the line, it's always a faceless, nameless computer system, or do we actually?
No, you will have
You
a,
guys jump in, or-
well, the first thing is two things. It's not faceless, you're gonna have a contract manager.
Right,
Every contract has a contract, it's assigned to someone.
okay,
The contract manager will be your point person, A is A. Two, the chamber is that advocacy, so people ask me, what do I do?
mhm,
Well, the simple answer is, think about a lobbyist, right? What does a lobbyist do? They have the business back, they knock on congressional offices, city offices, state offices, and basically fight for that particular business or that particular industry.
mhm,
The chamber does the exact same thing, but just over for a larger sector.
mhm,
We do for manufacturing, we do for retail, we do for nonprofits, we do, you name it, we do it. So we're actually now the largest chamber in the state and in the city, we're the 15th largest in the country.
mhm,
So we have a membership base of 2,200 people, but the SBS, the Small Business Services that I'm the deputy director of,
mhm.
that division is totally free. It's a city service program that is totally dedicated to supporting small businesses. It started in the Giuliani's days, Bloomberg revamped it and changed it, and basically that's what you're seeing today.
You're the director.
Deputy director. So director of business services from the chamber side, which oversees being as deputy director for the small businesses service from SBS. So that's two different departments, and that's where we have the MBA certification, the financing, you name it. So we're basically the small business services is a one-stop shop for businesses.
Mhm.
Free courses, financing options, accessing capital. We do MWB certification, veteran certification. We help people get business plans, incorporating, understanding legalities. We have free legal clinics. We also have recruitment. People don't realize when to hire someone. If you come through us and we could help you find the right candidates, even if you tell us, hey, I have 3 candidates I'm looking for, we screen them, we put them through the city system. You then qualify for OJT. Anybody know what OJT is? On the job training. The city will pay you as an employer 70% to train your employees.
God, I can't
Just
do
think about that. You have an employee,
that. Mhm.
you want to make sure that employee stays, they don't have high turnover, the city will pay you to train them, we sit down with you, we create a training plan, 280 hours worth of training. There are people, professionals we send them to, including yourself, and they get trained. And the city
Why
pays
does the
for it.
city want to pay for that?
Because every time you fire someone or every time that somebody leaves, the turnover is high. And that means unemployment insurance goes up. That means also when there's high turnover, businesses are not doing as well, which means they're not filing enough taxes, which means the city's losing money.
So how are you eligible for, how is the business eligible for that?
If you're in business for a year, and if you come to us. No, but again, for you, it's fine, because even if you're not qualified now, there are ways we could get around it. There are ways, there are
It was like if
loopholes
you're
there.
taking my employee out of my store to go train, like,
Again, that's why the city's reimbursing you for that. Because those hours that they're not in the store, again, we can there are set times that we should have the training done after hours, on weekends, stuff that helps you, but I think there will be times they will leave doing business
yeah,
hours,
that, like, it's-
and the city will reimburse you for that. So that's the point why they say the 70%.
So can you could you do this with, can we get someone to like help us out with our business in terms of like screening all these applications that are coming
So that's the thing,
through?
so if you let's say get, for example, most of you guys probably wouldn't even use a service in the city called Workforce One. Workforce One is basically the employment HR for a lot of companies. That's what the city says. The city says use Workforce One, and all the candidates that go through Workforce One, those are the ones you should hire for OJT. We came along and said, well, some of the candidates that we forwarded on to businesses were not really qualified or didn't have the skill set that the business wanted, so business ended up not hiring. So the whole program just lay lapsed. They said to us, we can vet the candidates. We put them through the Workforce One system. It's basically come down, they just have to meet an account manager, they ask them a few questions. It's like a small questionnaire, they fill it out, they do it, then they're still eligible for the OJT. So you could give us the candidates, we put them through our system, they come in for a quick interview just to make sure that they're matching the skills that you tell us you want. They will agree to work within the timeline of the training program that you want, and they get submitted. That's it. That's one example. Another example for big corporations right now, we have customized training. If you have 125 employees and up, the city has where they give you $400,000, up to $400,000 to train your employees. And if you do that, for example, like Empire Kosher or Pomegranate is actually we're pushing them to go to the system right now. Most people don't know that they're unionized. Do you know that Pomegranate is a union? all of their employees, they have about 300 employees that work in the back of the store you don't even see. That's a lot of employees.
But you have to have how many employees?
No, that customized training is different. Customized.
No, I know, but this is what you're saying.
So it's, you have to have 125 employees and up. And the city pays you for that because they want people to work within the ranks. So say for example, this guy's now a floor guy, he's stacking the shelves, he's a good worker, we put him through training, you know, he may be qualified now to become, you know, manager. And if you want to do this really well, he may become team leader, you know what I mean? That's the idea, you're moving the good employees through the system and the ones that are lagging still stay where they are. So that's another program that we do the whole thing for you. We said recruitment, we have courses, we have a lot of interesting alternative for financing. You know, people think of Kickstarter and some of the other ones like Kiva Zip. There's something now called Creditor. Your guys are a little different. Your store is a perfect case for this type of business. They say to you, hey, you need cash flow, right? But you don't want to go out and lend and borrow. But you want to maximize your collateral, which is basically your merchandise. They say to you, hey, let's put a campaign together. We'll hit all your friends, colleagues, customers, whoever. You give them a list of all your friends and colleagues' emails. They custom make a campaign for you. They blast it out to all of them and say, okay, let's say, you know, if you give $100, I'll get $120 credit in your store. Now, what does that do? That gives you the money directly into your account. The customer does not contribute towards your expansion of your business, but they get credit. So the chances, because they have store credit, they're gonna come and buy something. They're not gonna want to just give $120 and not get anything out of it.
That really works.
We've seen it in restaurants. We've seen it in coffee shops. We've seen it because people think themselves, every morning I go to the coffee shop, they got a credit card, I don't have cash, but they have a $5 minimum, so they end up buying more. People like to have, think about it, they go to Starbucks, they take a Starbucks card, they fill it up, they have money, they're good to go. It's the same concept, just not with a card. And it's particularly for your business, it's not for a whole chain. And they keep coming, it builds a loyalty base, you get the cash flow, nobody gets more than that, and they build a customer base that keeps coming back again and again. And again, the cash flow directly to your account. It's not like somebody holds it and says, hey, I'll give you back in 6 months. So, that's what we do.
Alright, so you're the guy that.
Going back to the Noivy,
Yeah.
so you basically